Hello, Talkin Fight fans around the world. Welcome to another episode of Neil the Deal featuring Neil the Deal himself. And we're going around the world, quite frankly, discovering the best fighters and profiling the best fighters of the world. And today we're focusing once again on fighters from Mexico and Julio Chavez Jr., one of the best fighters of the world, and prodigy, his father as well, one of the best. What do you got, Neil?
Hey, good evening, Graham. Nice to see you again. You're looking good as usual. God
Thank
bless
you
you,
very much.
buddy. Right on. Thanks for coming out, guys. I really appreciate you coming out and checking us out here on the Neil the Deal show at talkinfight.com. We always love the everybody coming out. That's the perfect stuff. So we're gonna be working on the Mexican fighters today, Graham. Is that what you've been talking about? The Mexicans?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right on. The Mexican fighters that are coming up and have been going since we were just kids are amazing. So tonight we're going to talk about a guy who his father is actually probably in my top 5 favorite Mexican fighters of all time. Probably I'm actually looking at this Graham properly, and he could he could be the best fighter of all time. His father. So we're talking about
Wow.
Julio César Chavez Jr., but we're talking about his father too, who's Julio César Chavez. Unbelievable pedigree of fighters. You know, he has a couple of sons that are fighters. Omar, his other son, is a fighter too, and I really love since I was a young guy, Julio César Chavez. He Graham, one of the things that I kind of checked out, he was 89 and 0, all right? Senior was
Wow.
89 and 0, all right? So we all talk about Floyd Mayweather being 50 and 0, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So when I really thought about it and did the math and stuff, I'm thinking Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is probably, honestly, guys, the best fighter of all time. I just want to tell you right now, I think he 89 and 0 before he lost a fight, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
So
man.
it's unbelievable. Now, we're going to talk about his son tonight, which is awesome. And obviously, he comes from a major pedigree of boxers. His father being probably the best boxer, like I said, of all time. My favorite, one of my favorites. Right in there with Ali, Hagler, Leonard, you know, this guy, these guys are real big time boxers. So we're going to talk about his son, Junior, today. So he has a nickname, which is funny. It's La Leyenda uh, Contrina. Contrina. It's the legend. The legend continues or something, right?
Ah, cool, cool.
So yeah, like his father is a legend, and his fighting has been amazing over the years. Like I've watched probably 10, 15 fights,
Yep.
juniors fights, and he never disappoints. He's got a lot of good stuff every day of the week.
Hmm.
He can knock you out with both hands. He's got great footwork. He's a wicked jab, really good jab, and he's been one of the, like I say, he was the son of the legend, really. So I really like him. So he was born February 16th, 1986, in a Culiacán, Mexico, which is in the Sinaloa region. We all know about the Sinaloa region. It's not easy growing up over there. So and then he's 35 years old now, but man, what a place to actually grow up in, So
Yeah, man.
he's been a fighter since a kid with his father and just his upbringing. He's fought in quite a number of weight classes, 4 to be exact. He fought in the light middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight division, and he's presently fighting in the light heavyweight division, which is interesting because I personally think he's more of a super middleweight, maybe a middleweight fighter, but he's been putting on weight. He's a lot bigger than his father, which is interesting, Graham. His father was very stocky in stature and like as I said, probably in the top 3 best fighters of all time, guys. His father, Chavez Sr., unbelievable. But he's a little taller, a little leaner. His reach is a little longer. But you know, he hasn't had as many fights. So we're gonna talk about his career now.
Mhm.
His he's only held one title in his life, and it was only for a year. It was a WBC middleweight title. He had it from 2011 to 2012. And
Yep.
the crazy part too that I was really shocked about this, Graham, was that he only had 2 amateur fights in his entire life.
Really?
Yeah, he had 2 fights against the same guy. It was Jorge Paez's son, Jorge Paez Jr. They had 2 exhibition fights in Mexico, and that was his amateur career. So it was like unbelievable, you know. And then he turns pro, literally. So to date, like I've watched him many times. He's a very skilled boxer. He has a really good camp. Obviously, his father is taking care of him, and he never looks out of place. Put it that way. He's got all the skill. He's just a different. He's different than his father. His father was a sort of a guy that moved you around and pushed you around, and his motor, like I always say, kept going. His ring pace was amazing. He has the same thing, but he likes to throw not as many punches, but harder punches. So he's a bit of a harder puncher than his dad, right? So his ring totals, pro totals, guys, 59 fights. All right, he's got 52 wins, right, with 34 KOs. 34 KOs. That gives him a KO percentage of 57%. He's got 320 rounds in the ring in those 59 fights. He's got 5 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. So, he's got a great pro career going. He's presently going, and I love watching him because you never know what's going to happen with him. He can like break out at any time, and he's got the skill. He's got all everything going for him. So he did start really young too, Graham? He started at like 17 years old, and there's a lot of pressure under kids like that at that age, being the son of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? So you got to give him a little bit of kudos for that. He's got a lot. He basically, how are you gonna beat up on your dad when he's 89-0, right? Like, he's got a lot to look up. He's got a lot to. I don't know. What do you say, right? He's doing his best. His dad's been helping him out, and he signed with Bob Arum Productions Promotions. He's had a bunch of things over his career where he is a bit of a wild child. You know what I mean, Graham?
Okay.
He likes to have a good time. I don't blame him. Why wouldn't you? That's how. If you're doing what
Yeah, I'm
you're
with
doing
you.
and you're the son of that guy, you might as well have fun with it. I give you all the kudos, man. Right on, buddy. I'd be doing the same thing. That's for sure. So, for sure. You know what I mean? He's Chavez Jr., right? Come on. So he's been on 2 pay-per-view bouts, pay-per-views, and they were pretty successful. I'm thinking that in the future, even though through his age, I think he's got a bunch of fights left in him, and and like I say, he's one of those guys you got to watch out for, because you never know with the Mexican fighters. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of humanitarianism in them. They take this to heart, the fighting, the boxing, right? It's kind of
Yep.
like us Canadians. We take hockey to heart, right?
Yep.
So I really that's why I always like the Mexican boxers. I always love them. And Chavez Jr. He's gonna show you something this year. I think he's got a couple of fights coming up that could be, really bring him back into the limelight. So, couple of fights that I watched that I really sincerely liked about him. He was amazing in all of these fights. Was Chavez versus Peter Manfredo Jr. Manfredo Jr. He was a great fighter himself. Uh, Chavez versus Marco Antonio Rubio was a fantastic fight. I was watching that today, and of course, when he fought Canelo, right? So you guys can all watch that one. He didn't have his best at that fight. I was a little confused by that whole thing, Graham, but you know, it is what it is. I hope they have a rematch, Canelo and him. I think it would be a little different, because it was like he was like holding back or something. You know what I mean? It was really bizarre. But so, anyways, I really like Julio Chavez Jr. Cesar Chavez Jr. and his father obviously is in the top 10, hands down. And like I always said, Floyd Mayweather's 50-0, right, Graham?
Yep.
Yeah. And his dad was 89-0.
Chavez dad.
Right. So if you really look at this logically, who's the best fighter of all time? Really, if really, I don't know, man. 89-0. That
Our
is
viewers
awesome.
want to know.
What's that?
Our viewers want to know. They want to know. Come on, who are you picking?
Yeah, he's right up there in the top 3, 4, 5 now. We're talking Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard. No, I'm thinking, Chavez Senior. Wow. I always loved Chavez Senior. Every time I watched him, he was just lightning, right? And
Yeah.
he's put it on to his children, and that's always the best thing. If you can acquire like an amazing a trait like that, to be able to be a boxer of that stature and be able to teach your children, the craft, that must be really satisfying. So I want to say, hey, if you're out there, my friend, either one of the Mr. Chavez Senior or Mr. Chavez Jr. Neil the Deal says, thanks a lot, man. You guys just kicked ass. Your whole career, unbelievable. Thanks a lot. And hopefully, Graham, tomorrow is going to be 6:30. Is that correct?
Friday.
What's that?
On Friday.
Yeah, Friday, 6:30, right?
Come on.
Oh, yeah, cool. All right, cool. All
Hey,
right, so
you're jumping ahead today, but
what's that?
Absolutely. Yes, as the producer's pointing out, today is actually Wednesday. You still have a full day tomorrow.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. I was like, oh, things are getting so busy over here. I'm getting my days mixed up a bit. You know what I mean?
That's fine. I myself have to jump off this meeting. So if you have anything else, let us rip. But otherwise, like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. Let's go.
Exactly. Thanks a lot for coming out, guys. And Julio César Chavez, kick it up a notch. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you tomorrow.